Hi, everybody, and welcome. We're David and Tracy Freck, lead pastors of Church of the Harvest. We're really grateful you took the time to watch this rebroadcast of this past week's message at Church of the Harvest.
Hey, it doesn't matter what time you're joining us. It could be in the middle of the night, it could be during the day. But we trust that the Word of God will minister to your spirit today, and that there will be something that happens in your spirit that you've been longing for.
Absolutely. We're committed to helping you grow in your relationship with Jesus Christ. That's why we provide this message in a format that you can watch anytime you like. So would you do something? Just don't watch it, but also think about how we can connect with you and make a difference in your life. So take the time to send us an email, look at the description below for next steps. However we can engage you, it would be our privilege and our honor to do so. So come on into the service, experience the Word, and let Jesus change your life.
Well, we're continuing our series, Sleeping on the Job. Didn't Pastor David just crush it last week? So good as he talked about rest and the importance of that. He's preaching in El Dorado, the El Dorado campus this morning, and they've not got to hear him in a long time, so they're super excited. We're going to be really in the story of Jesus calming the storm, the one that he slept through, and we're going to be talking, as we're talking sleeping on the job, we're going to talk about being ready for bed. Is anybody a heavy sleeper in the house? Now I take a while to go to sleep. I don't require very much sleep, but I'm gonna tell you this right now, I'm a heavy sleeper, okay? Matter of fact, there was one time I was sleeping and a tornado was coming through there in Cedar County, and my wife, she's not as heavy of a sleeper, and she woke up and she kind of nudges me and she says, "Babe, there's a storm outside." I said, "I know, it's making for a great night, come on." Right, like I'm good. And she said, "Babe, we gotta get to the basement." And I said, "Get to the basement? No, I'm tired, I'm finally asleep, I ain't going nowhere," right? Like I'm going right here in this bed. And so we lay there for a minute and boom, thunder and the winds were picking up and there's tornadoes coming. And she nudges me again, she says, "Babe, I am going to the basement, we gotta go." And I said, "I'm not going nowhere." She looked at me and she said, "Then you can die right here." But me and the kids are going in the basement. Would you believe I let them go? About that time, our room was on the second floor, and the tornado threw the trampoline into my window, and I thought, I better listen to my wife, right? I was happy to sleep through it all, but the truth is, I'm a heavy sleeper. The truth is that when I get ready for bed, it doesn't matter what's going on in my world. I don't want to miss that moment in my life, right? Have you ever been in that place where you just really need rest? You just need rest. Now, in the context of rest, it doesn't mean it's not work. Right? In Matthew 11, and Pastor talked about it last week, but in the Message version, he says, "Watch me, work with me, learn how I do it, you'll learn to take a real rest." But I love that. He says, "Work with me." Rest isn't void of work, it's just working in the right manner. It's working with him. We do a thing every week, we call it the wow moment, the win of the week. Right? And that could be a variety of different things, but part of the reason we do it is because we're doing the work of the kingdom. And when we're doing the work of the kingdom, it doesn't always feel like work. Right? Our wow moment specifically this week is actually a story from Miss Anna that got baptized a couple months ago, right, from Brazil. And she was just living life, working in the kingdom of God with Jesus, right? Just living life, serving the Father. And in the process of that, her grandma was watching her life, her grandma from Brazil, watching her life. And she called Anna and she said, "You're so different than you used to be. I want what you have. Can I follow Jesus? Can I get baptized?" Come on, somebody. That's working in the kingdom. That's working along with him. Mark chapter 4, let's get into it. Verse 35. Here's what it says. "As evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, 'Let's cross to the other side of the sea,'" or of the lake, right there at the sea, 8 miles wide, 12 miles long. They had been doing some great things in the midst of the height of ministry, right? Things are going as good as it could be. And in the process of that, Jesus Jesus hits the brakes and he says, hey, disciples, this is great, but there's more to do. What we're doing is good, but let us go somewhere. I love that he gives really this invitation. And when we follow Christ, that's really what it is. We're not inviting him to go along with us on a journey. He's inviting us to go along with him on a journey to go somewhere. He's kicking this off and he says, I know that everything is good and everything is comfortable and everything is just the way you want it to be. But let us go on an adventure together. Let us go somewhere and do something a little different that's ever been done. I think we have to understand, guys, that when it comes to following Christ, we can't play it safe. You'll hear me say this for the next 30 years. We were never called to be comfortable. We were never called to fit in. We were called to stand out. Come on, somebody. You weren't called to fall in line. You were called to lead the line. Come on now. You weren't called to just kind of hope. You weren't called to just say, well, it's all going to be. No, you were called to lead this life. You were called to make a difference. You were called to stand out and shine for the glory of the Lord, right? It's important for us to understand in the midst when everything is going good that we're so in tune with his voice, even when it's great. And he says, wait. I want to shift our focus. I know you've been thinking about this for a long time, but I want to shift our focus. I got something for us to do over there, and I want you to trust me and go. Can I tell you, that is what happened to me a year and a half ago. There was no reason I ever shifted focus. There was no reason Pastor David ever shifted focus except for the Lord saying, let us go on an adventure together. Let us go somewhere and see what God may do. Verse 36 is there. So they get in the boat, and here's what it says. So they took Jesus in the boat and started out. I love this. Leaving the crowds behind, although other boats followed him. Did y'all read that? I felt like, Pastor Mike, I felt like I read that by myself. Yeah, what on earth, church? Y'all with me? Look at what it says. So they took Jesus in the boat and started out. But what happened next? Listen, if you're going to follow Jesus, you're going to have to leave some stuff behind. Listen, if you're going to follow Jesus into uncharted territory, if you're going to follow Jesus into things that are uncomfortable, at some point in your walk, you're going to have to leave some stuff behind. You're going to have to leave some people behind. You're going to have to leave some ideology behind. You're going to have to leave some fear behind. If you're going to follow Christ into the things that he's called you to do, at some point in your walk, you are going to have to leave some things behind. The truth is, if you're going to be a part of something great, you may have to leave something good. Come on now, right? At some point in our walk, we get to this place that we have to understand we are just gonna have to leave some stuff behind. Now, I love that it says other boats followed, because some people are gonna go with you. So early on, I had been pastoring for probably about 13 minutes. And a pastor buddy of mine, he said, Brother Beau, he always calls me Brother Beau, Dr. Gary Bryant, he's pastored for a lot of years, and he's 80, I think, 3. And he said, Brother Beau, you'll be amazed at who will go with you. And Brother Beau, you'll be amazed at who won't. Can I tell you, there's people on that shoreline. Peter looked at someone and he said, hey, we're going to follow Jesus. We're going to get in this boat and we're going to go to the other side. And someone said, but why? Everything is good here. And Peter said, I know, but trust me, Jesus is saying we got somewhere to go. And the guy that Peter's talking to is going, yeah. But man, everything is good. Are you sure Jesus is really hearing from the Lord? Are you sure you're really obeying the word of the Lord on this? Why would God have you leave something good? Say it again, for something better. But for a bunch of people on that side of the sea, they're looking at it going, maybe this Jesus doesn't really understand the will of God. Come on. Right? And so the truth is, a bunch didn't, but some went. Listen, celebrate those that go. Listen to me, but don't mourn over those that don't. Come on now. See, I think the Lord told me in 2020, after we all came back to church and there were people that weren't back, and the Lord said, how long will you grieve over Saul when you get up, and why won't you go anoint David, the son of Jesse? See, the truth is, you with me, right? The truth is, we're grieving over people that aren't with us. We're grieving over people that aren't by our side, and maybe their season to be by your side is up, and maybe you need to understand who's in the other boat and celebrate them. Come on, somebody. That's the reality of the gospel. Verse 37, I love what it says, but in the process of this, a fierce storm with high waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. So you have this sea several hundred feet below sea level. And what would happen is the cold wind would come and flow over the mountains, and the warm wind off the sea would come, and it would create out of nowhere these fierce storms. Right? And you have these Hebrews that were historically nomadic, and really they lived in the desert. And so now they're in this area by the sea, and they're on the sea, which is, again, 8 miles wide, and at certain places 200 feet deep, right? It's a big place, right? And historically, the Hebrews, they were terrified of the water. They were terrified of what could happen in the seas. But these guys were professional fishermen, and they knew the sea, but this still caught them off guard. They followed Jesus. Are y'all reading this? But what? Soon a storm rose. Fierce, violent, some translations say. They followed Jesus, a storm arose. They followed Jesus. Everything is good. Everything is nice, right? Everything is happy. Everything is peaceful. Everything is perfect. And Jesus says, we got something to do on the other side of the sea. They get in the boat, and as soon as they push off, as soon as they get into the deep, a violent storm shows up. I think it's important for us to understand that as you follow Jesus, you may get led into some storms. Following Jesus may lead you into some storms. It may lead you into some uncomfortable places. It may lead you into some terrifying moments. In your adventure with Jesus, have you ever been caught off guard? Have you ever felt like you were just blindsided? I'm going to say this again. Following Jesus isn't safe. Come on. Are we alone here? Following Jesus isn't safe. Because you got to trust something you can't see. You got to trust something that doesn't always make sense. See, everything is good. Everything is perfect. Everything is simple. They follow Jesus, and boom, this giant storm starts raging. Now, here's what I need to understand. You followed him up to this moment. Why you want out of the boat now? Isn't this the way it goes? We follow him. We're confident that God said to go, and we go. And the minute the storm starts raging, we're like, did I miss the Lord? Maybe I missed it, God. Maybe this wasn't your voice. Maybe I missed it altogether. Maybe you're not moving. Maybe you're not leading me here. God, maybe I don't even know how to hear your voice altogether, right? And then we come to this place and we assume that because we have trouble that we've missed God. But I'm here to say trouble isn't the absence of God, right? It's in trouble that he's very present. He's a very present help in times of trouble. I'm here to say that the fact that you're facing trouble may be a very evident sign that you're following him. Now, here's the reality. I've said this a bunch, and I'll say it till the day I die. We don't get to control the outcome. We control our obedience. We don't get to control what happens everywhere else. All we get to control is, did I obey God? Right? Come on now. Listen, we've bid on about 50,000 houses right now in Johnson County. We're always somewhere between 2nd and 50th in the bid process. You know what second place gets you? Not a house in Johnson County. Right? Now, can we talk? Can I pull off the preaching hat and just say, can we talk for a second? See, if we're not careful, we think because the outcome hasn't been like I thought it would be, that I've missed the Lord. I don't control the outcome. I trust for the outcome. I control me. It's self-control. Come on, I control how I view it, right? I don't get to control what happens in life. I don't get to control what the situations that I go through, right? What I control is my heart in the midst of the situation, right? You don't get to control what happens, but you know what you can control? Your tongue when it doesn't go your way. You should have heard what they said about you. I don't need to know. I had someone come to my office one time, and they said that to me. They said, I got to talk to you because I heard something. I said, well, who said it? And they said, well, I don't want to say. I said, then you can get out of my office. Come on, somebody. This isn't a gossip place. Come on, somebody. It's the house of the Lord. Are you with me? I don't control what happens. I control the way I talk about what happens. I control my prophetic utterance in the midst of what happens. I don't get to control the outcome. I control how I handle or my obedience in the process of this. They get in the boat. Not only is the storm raging, but now the storm is getting worse. They're fighting this storm, and now the storm, the Bible says that the boat is filling up. The boat is getting full of the water. See, it's one thing to be in a storm, but it's another when a storm is in you. Come on. It's one thing for me to be in this world. It's one thing for me to go through some things, but it's another thing when I allow what I'm going through to affect me, or can I say it like this, infect me. Jesus said it like this in John chapter 17. He said, I'm not asking that you take them out of this world, but keep them safe from the evil one. They don't belong to this world any more than I do. Make them holy by your truth. Teach them your word, which is truth. We're in this world, but our attitudes aren't. Come on. We're in this world, but our mindsets can't be. We're in this world, but our outlook should be from heaven's perspective. Listen, you may find yourself in a storm, and storms may surprise you, but don't let them shake you. What do I mean? Pastor Beau, what do you mean? You may find yourself in a storm. You may find yourself in the midst of things going awry and not going the way you'd hope they go. But they can't shake, they can't scare me. Now, am I surprised by them? Yeah. Am I startled? Yes. But after the initial startle, they don't get to change the way I walk. They don't get to change the way I talk, right? They don't get to change my outlook. They don't get to change the way I treat people, right? My wife and I, when we're having a bad day and we're short with one or the other, this will always come up. They're like, what happened today? Because I didn't do nothing to deserve that kind of response. Are you with me? That's honest relationship, because that's how we have to live. We have to come to this place that we're saying, I was surprised by some stuff, but it doesn't get to shake my faith loose, right? Because faith is over every feeling that I may have. Verse 38, Jesus was sleeping. This is where I'm trying to get. Jesus was sleeping in the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. And the disciples woke him up shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to drown?" Oh, I love that. They finally decided to come to Jesus. Finally. Why is that the last place we go? Listen, when something bad happens, why you got to post it on Facebook? Come on, it's quiet today. I got to be in your business, huh? Why are we running there? Why are we running to people that can't help us or won't give us godly advice? You know why? Because we're looking for affirmation. We're looking for people to say, I would have done that too. Right? See, we run everywhere else first, and the truth is, when we finally get to Jesus, this is how our prayer looks too. Right? Our world's falling apart. We're in the middle of a storm. We're like, God, don't you care that I'm going to die? It's almost like we're going, hold on, you must be busy, doing everything in the universe, right? But don't forget about little old Beau. Don't you understand that I'm going through some stuff? It's almost like our prayer life is centered around making him aware of the trials and tribulations we're going through. What would happen if we started off rejoicing? We ain't got time for that. We're busy like, God, don't you understand that this storm is going to kill me? This is our prayer life, right? This is what it looks like we're making him aware. There was a season, I was a youth pastor, golly, probably almost 20 years ago, and I had been in a real dry desert season, right? And for like 3 years or 2 years, something like that. It was exhausting, and I'm laying in the altar of a church service, right? And it was a night service, and I'm just laying in the altar, and I'm really like I'm ugly crying before the Lord. Have you ever ugly cried before the Lord? You got the snot and all that. Like that was me and Jesus in that moment. If you've never done that, we're gonna create an environment for you to do that sometime, right? It's healthy every now and again, right? But don't be sharing it, just you and Jesus. And so I'm in that moment, and this is my prayer. God, you use me to speak over people. You use me to prophesy. You use me to encourage. When is someone gonna do it for me? When is someone gonna help me? When is someone gonna care about me? You know what the Lord said? In my heart, I saw him look over the balcony of heaven. And he went like this, he went, are you done? I said, yeah. Yeah. Here's what he said. Pastor Mike, here's what he said. He goes, okay, then get up and do what I've called you to do. Come on, somebody. I don't get to control the storm. I get to control my outlook. I get to control my obedience in the midst of the storm. These fishermen knew the waters, yet they feel like total failures. Like if anybody should have been confident in this moment, it would have been these fishermen, not the carpenter. But storms have a way of causing us to lose confidence in things we know. You ever lost confidence? You ever lost confidence in your ability to father, or your ability to work, or your ability to make decisions, or your ability to fill in the blank? That's what storms do. They cause us to lose our confidence. And where's Jesus? So you say, go ahead. He's sleeping. He ain't just sleeping. He's sleeping on a cushion. I'm picturing Jesus. Can I go here? I'm picturing Jesus like I picture people walking through the airport. My wife has one of these. I bought one for me yesterday because she always looks so comfortable. When we're driving, you know what she's doing? Say it. We get on a plane, you know what she's doing? I'm the one finding out what gate we're going to next. You know what she's doing? Jesus, it says, and I'm going to come back to this. Jesus, it says in this moment that he was sleeping on a cushion. What's it saying? It's saying that he was prepared to rest. He knew the storm was coming. It's interesting. They all knew that they were going to cross. Jesus knew the storm was coming, but he was the one that grabbed a cushion. He was the one that knew the storm was coming. It's funny. Our preparation for the storm is to like put up the wood in the windows. His preparation for the storm is to grab a cushion. Come on, somebody. His preparation is to think, I have to be in this place that I'm willing to rest no matter what I go through. I'm comfortable, like my wife would say, in any situation. I'm ready. Why? Because I'm prepared for rest. If I could say it like this, I'm ready for bed. No matter what I'm going through, I'm ready for rest. I'm ready to find the rest of God. How do we have rest when we're in the biggest storms of our life? We're ready. Here's the challenge when it comes to rest in big storms. We think rest is something we run to. It's something you carry. It isn't a place I run to whenever I'm stressed out. It's what I carry. It isn't where I go, and I understand we run to the rock of our salvation. You know, I get it. But when it comes to rest in real storms, I understand that I carry him, but I carry him everywhere I go. So when I walk into a bad place, I'm good. I'm ready. When I walk in and my hot water heater down south as I'm trying to sell it blows up, that stinks, but I'm ready. Part of owning a house, I'm ready. Come on, who am I talking to? I'm trying to get to this place that no matter the storm, I'm ready for bed. I'm ready for rest. I'm ready for rest. See, when we love his word essentially is our cushion. When I love his word, I'm ready for rest in any situation that I may face. Matter of fact, when we love his word, we get to have, the Bible calls it shalom, peace, which is really peace in the midst of war. Did Jesus care? Of course. But he had shalom, peace in the midst of war. I was in a plane with Pastor David. We were flying to meet some pastors. And, we had looked at the weather. Conditions were perfect. Let's go. He picks me up. We get in the plane and we're flying. And out of nowhere, like this unexpected cloud cover filled the sky. Now, Pastor David and I are talking the whole time. You know him and you know me. We're talking, man. We're talking about life and talking about ministry, talking about all this stuff. And as we're talking about it, Pastor David got quiet. But I kept talking. He got quiet, but I just kept doing this, you know what I mean? And pretty soon we could see, and then pretty soon you could barely see the propeller in front of you. We have been completely covered by these clouds or by these storm clouds. Now it's crazy. On the outside of that plane were ice cold temperatures. On the outside of this plane were winds that would just tear us apart. On the outside of it, we're at a height that if anything goes wrong, there's no chance we live. See, on the outside of this plane, my chance for survival is 0. But on the inside of the plane, I'm at perfect peace. Now someone says, well, you were at peace because you didn't know the danger of being in that cloud. He told me. I was at peace because I trusted my pilot. Can I tell you why you struggle to have rest? It comes back to this place of trust. We don't fully trust our pilot. We don't fully trust the captain. We don't fully trust that he's going to get us where he says he's going to get us. We get to this place that if I got to choose between my rest or my cushion, or I got to choose between getting a bucket and trying to actively get the water out of the boat, and there's a time for that. But the problem is what we choose first is grab the bucket. What we got to choose first is grab the cushion. Come on, somebody. I love the fact that he knew the storm was coming. He didn't grab a bucket. He grabbed a cushion. Come on, somebody. See, I think it's fascinating. His view of the situation didn't change his relationship with God. His relationship with God changed the way he viewed the situation. That's the reality of rest in the midst of a storm. I'm not at rest because I'm unaware. I'm at rest because I trust. Are you with me? I'm at rest because I trust. Jesus, in this setting of scripture, he knew, fully aware that God had a plan for him. He was fully aware that God was doing something and had commanded him to go to the other side. And I just need to tell someone today, if you followed God and you find yourself in a storm, he didn't lead you to it to leave you in it. God, where are you? God, don't you care? He's like, I'm aware. And I'm not fazed. I know you're in it. And I know how goofy do I look? You know, I'm okay with it. You know why? Because when all hell's breaking loose and you're at rest, it looks goofy to the rest of the world. They're looking at you, they're saying, how you have peace when you're going through everything you're going through? doesn't make a bit of sense. Why are you walking around like that? I know what's going on in your house. I know what's going on. I know you just lost your job. How are you living? How are you living the way you're hiding it, aren't you? You're just hiding it. No. I'm at rest. I'm at rest in the midst of the storm, right? He was at rest because he trusted God. Jesus said it like this: if you love me, you'll obey my commandments. That word commandments literally could be translated as prescriptions. Like if I go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, listen, you hurt your back, and if I go to the chiropractor and he says, you hurt your back, don't lift anything heavy for 24 hours, whatever it is, and I go and I start doing some heavy deadlifts, I'm an idiot. Because I didn't trust the prescription of someone knows how I'm supposed to function. This is what Jesus is saying. He's saying, I'm at rest because I trust the prescription of the one who knows how the storms functions. I think it's important for us to understand that rest will direct you. Your best decisions are in the morning, statistically. It's decision fatigue. It's a real thing. You ever been there where we're like, can I make it real? It's dinner time, husbands, and you're like, honey, where you want to eat? And they say, I don't care. I don't know. And you're like, I truly don't care. Just make a decision. And they're like, but I don't care either. And you're like, okay, how about pizza? Well, I don't want that. Okay. How about K-Machos? I don't want that either. How about barbecue? We had that for lunch. What do you want? I don't care. Right? The truth is, we're all so tired of making decisions, we don't know what sounds good. We just know what doesn't sound good. We don't know what we want in certain areas. We're in a place of decision fatigue. I was talking to a teacher one time about just children and their learning, and she said the peak hours of learning were between like 8:30 and like 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. She said that's why the hardest subjects, that's why we don't do math at 2:30. That's why we don't do science right after lunch. That's what she said. She said the peak hours of learning are in this time frame, so we try to make sure that the classes that require them to fire on all cylinders happen before lunch. That's why rest is so important. Rest will direct you, right? I think it's fascinating. Where was he sleeping at? On a cushion, but where? In the bottom or in the stern? You know what happens at the back or the stern of the boat? That's where the rudder is. Why does that matter? That's how you steer. Jesus was saying, I'm going to find my rest in the place that directs the entire ship. See, it's from a place of rest that you get direction. Not only that, rest will keep you. When you're in the midst of a storm and there's a tendency to feel triggered and to want to run to old stuff and want to run to bad decisions and just pop off and snap off and different things like that. When you're in a storm and you're not for sure what to do and you decide, I'm going to go to the stern, I'm going to go find rest and allow rest to direct me, I understand rest will also keep me. Look at what David said in Psalm 27. He's in the midst of feeling an attack and all this stuff. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I feel war. I feel all these different things coming at me. And this is what he says. My heart heard you say, come and talk with me. And my heart responds, Lord, I'm coming. Can I tell you, that's the place you'll find the most rest. I was in a season of just high stress a few years ago, and I didn't know what to do. And I literally heard this psalm so resonates with my spirit because it's the exact, I found this in the NLT later, but it was in that moment, that's exactly what the Lord said. He said, when are you going to get away with me? When are you going to try to quit carrying this by yourself? It's about 1:32 in the morning. You know what I said? Tomorrow night. I said right now, because I need rest right now. I may get sleep, but I don't always get rest. I may find rest when I don't get sleep. What I needed was not 6 hours of shut-eye. What I needed was rest. How do we find rest when it feels like it's all falling apart. I love Philippians 4:4. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always. Anybody? Remember that? Remember that, Pastor Mike? That's a good one. Any church kids in the house? Yeah. I love Philippians 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Why? Rejoice means to rejoy or do it again. It means when I'm facing a storm, I'm choosing something I've experienced before. It means when I'm in the midst of turmoil, I'm choosing something that I may not feel present in the moment, but it's okay because when I'm a man of faith, I get to order off of an unseen menu. So come on, somebody. It's like In-N-Out Burger. Come on now. You order stuff that ain't no one else knows there, but by faith I get to have that animal style. I ain't got time. So there I am. I'm in this moment and things aren't going my way, and I'm feeling anxiety, and I'm feeling stress, and I'm feeling turmoil, and I'm feeling trouble. And in that moment I stop and I go, wait a minute, I don't like what I feel. So I'm gonna go back and choose something called joy that I've experienced before. Now I need to make a point of declaration, right? People say money can't buy happiness. Well, it'll buy you a Corvette, and that'd make me happy. It'll buy you a boat, and I can catch fish in a boat. Come on, somebody. Come on. Right now, it'd buy me a house. Come on, somebody. So money can buy happiness, but it can't buy joy. See, happiness is a result of the situation. Joy is regardless of the situation. So when I'm facing the storm, I'm saying, I don't feel it. I don't have it. But you know what? I'm rejoicing. I'm rejoicing. This is how I come to a place of rest no matter what I face. Verse 39, they wake him up. They're like, Lord, don't you care that we're dying? And Jesus is in the back of the boat. He's all cuddled up, all nice and cozy. Don't you care? Jesus kind of shakes himself awake. Reminds me of having kids on Christmas, right? Come on, somebody. Jesus, don't you care? The storm. Shh. I'm sleeping. That's what he said. That's what he said. He said quiet. He said, shh. I know that you're a real and present danger. Shh. But I have an ever-present help in times of trouble. Oh, I realize that the storm I face is very real and very natural. But I'm thankful I don't have to battle things naturally. I have a supernatural God. So in the midst of the storm, whenever Jesus is trying to get rest because it's been a long day and he's got a lot of work to do, he leaves the stern of the boat and he looks at the storm and he says, shh, I'm sleeping. I love that. Silence. That sounds more powerful. But essentially, he was saying, shh. Jesus in this moment was showing us that while storms are very real, we should never let them interrupt our rest. You ever wonder why the storms, especially that we battle in our mind and our heart, happen the most at night? You ever wonder? Why didn't the storm happen when they got in the boat at 4:30 in the afternoon? Because they weren't going to rest at 4:30 in the afternoon. See, the enemy was battling their future by attacking their rest. That's why you struggle so much at night. You thought it was insomnia. You thought it was, well, I just got an active and a vivid imagination. Well, it's just, no. It's very possible the enemy is attacking you. He's attacking your future by attacking your rest. Jesus looks at him. Jesus, don't you care that we're dying? Shh, I'm sleeping. And then he looks to the disciples. And he says something that messed me up for so long. He looks at the disciples and he says, do you still have no faith? King James, oh ye of little faith. BJV, what is wrong with you? Why? What are you afraid of? Why do you still have no faith? And I said, Lord, I don't think that's a fair thing to say. Why? Because they had never seen storms stilled. That was outside of the realm of what they knew was even supernaturally possible. Storm was the sea itself was the epitome of chaos and hell to the Jewish people. Right? That's also why they walked through the sea in Egypt. That's why they crossed the Jordan River. It was the whole time God showing you the things that scare you most, I'm going to give you authority over. I don't have time. But here we are in the sea, and he looks at them, and he says, what is wrong with you? Where's your faith at? And they're saying, well, they didn't say nothing because they're not dumb. But I'm saying, Lord, they didn't know. How would they have known that they could have faith? Worship team can come on up. How would they have known that they could faith for something they had never seen? So good. They allowed fear, again, to steal their rest. Not only that, why no faith? I asked myself this for years. Why no faith? And then the Lord spoke it to my heart a few years ago. He said they didn't have faith, not because they didn't calm the storm. They didn't know it was possible yet. They didn't have faith because they didn't trust me at my word when I said go to the other side. They didn't have faith because I said let's go and they trusted me. But the minute there was a challenge, they said Jesus was wrong. They didn't have faith, not because they didn't trust me at the beginning, but because they didn't trust me when it got hard. Who am I talking to right now? That in the midst of it getting hard, in the midst of it being difficult, in the midst of the storm raging, in the midst of a sales drought, in the midst of an economy that makes us all nervous, in the midst of all this stuff, that we're standing back and we're saying, Jesus, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I heard you rightly. Come on. And he looks at us. He looks at me. And he says, man, Beau, you should have more faith than that. I've never let you down. I didn't lead you to it to leave you in it. You don't control the outcome, son. You control the obedience. Do you trust me at my word? When I trust him at his word, I'm not trusting him for the moment. I'm trusting him for the future. So the minute he said, let's go to the other side, in the spirit, they were already there. Now, they had to walk it out, but he leads us from a place of faith, right? I told you this before, right? Like, we always say, God, if I could know the whole story, it'd be easier for me to believe. And God's saying, you don't have faith for the whole story? Because you're going to see the storm and say it ain't worth it. But I see the man that's possessed in Gennesaret that needs me. So that's who I'm focused on. You didn't trust me at my word. The truth is, guys, what am I saying? I'm saying rest comes from trusting his word. Anybody do that first prayer when your kids are little? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Now I lay me down to sleep. It's a little morbid for a little kid. But I think it's the epitome of a faith prayer. I think it's the epitome of a faith prayer. It's weird for Benny, for little Benny to say with his no front teeth, now I lay me down to sleep. But I truly think it's the epitome of a prayer that we as adults need to pray. Because our prayer looks at this. Now I lay me down to sleep, whatever sleep is. Your work, now I give you my job. Right now I lay me down to sleep. And we get to the, if I should die. Or we get to the, if I have trouble. We're like, I'll take it back, God. Not I pray the Lord, my soul to take, my job to take, my hope to take. Our prayer is, when I lay me down to sleep, when I'm trying to find rest, if there's any turmoil, give it back, God. Because I can trust you when it's really good, but I struggle to trust you when it's not. In the midst of the storm, I got to be willing to look goofy to the world. And I got to find rest. See, I find rest, my cushion is knowing him. My cushion, whenever maybe you're here and you're going, but man, I've done so many things and I struggle to believe that God will forgive me. You don't know my past. I don't deserve it. What I deserve is judgment. I don't deserve hope. I don't deserve peace. I don't deserve salvation. Well, see, when I know his word, I have a cushion. And his word says in 1 John, if I confess my sins, he's faithful and just. Forgive me of all unrighteousness. When I'm struggling of lack in my life, I think about 2 Corinthians. This is God will generously supply all that I need. When I'm feeling alone, I remember that Proverbs says that he's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. That it may look like I'm alone, but I got someone that's always by my side, that always has my back, that always has my best in mind. How about when I got more month than money? How about whenever I don't have the funds to do the things that I want to do or feel called to do? I think of Philippians 4. I'm going to the Word. Rest comes from knowing His Word. I go to Philippians. This is my God shall supply all your needs according to His riches and glory. Understand that if I got a prodigal, Pastor Mike prayed for prodigals this morning. I understand that if I got a prodigal that's not serving the Lord, that Proverbs says, I train a child up in the way they should go. But can I add to that? Maybe you're a dad of young kids and your kids are this high and you're saying, God, I don't want them to be a prodigal. God, I don't want them to be a prodigal. I was a prodigal. I don't want them to go what I go through. You know what the word is? Train a child up and the way they should go. We quote it wrong. We always say, and when they're old, as if there's a season they have to wander. I didn't wander. Train a child up in the way they should grow, and as they grow old, they're not departing. See, whenever the devil tries to come in, and say, oh, they're not going to serve the Lord. When people say, oh, you know, pastor's kids, I say, get behind me, Satan. Not my kids. Come on, somebody. I ain't letting someone speak that kind of death over my kids, and you shouldn't either. Why? Because the word. Well, Pastor Beau, statistics. I get statistics. I don't serve a natural God. I serve a supernatural one. I got the word. Come on, somebody. What about when God's not doing it when I want him to? God, this storm has been raging for what seems like an eternity. 2 Peter 3:9 says, the Lord isn't slow concerning his promises toward you, but he's patient for your sake. What about anxiety? God, I'm struggling in my heart. I'm struggling in my mind. 1 Peter 5:7 says, give him all your worries because he cares for you. You should bow your heads. Lord, I thank you that storms are inevitable. It rains on the just and the unjust alike. So, Lord, I don't like the storm, but I've decided in my own life, if it's going to storm, I'm just going to dance in the rain. I'm going to dance in the rain. So, Lord, in the midst of the storms that each of us may be facing, in this moment, we lift up our hands and we give it to you. And we look at the storm and we say, shh, I'm resting. We may be facing unstable ground all around us, but in the midst of the instability, we stand upon the rock. We thank you for it. Father, no matter what we face, in this moment, we're ready for bed. We receive your rest. In Jesus' name I pray. Would you stand on your feet? We're going to worship, and I just got two questions for you. Concerning rest, concerning the storms you face. You ready? What is God saying to you? And what are you going to do about it?